When you think about it, chocolate isn't just a treat. It's a time machine. A bite can bring back a childhood memory, a rainy school day, or a weekend with your grandparents. But what happens when those chocolates simply vanish? Today, we're unwrapping the lost legends of British confectionery. Iconic bars and candies that once filled shelves and sweetened generations but disappeared in the most unexpected ways. Some were nostalgic favorites, others were wild experiments. All of them unforgettable. Let's take a bittersweet journey through the flavors, stories, and surprises of vintage British chocolates that have melted away with time. Banjo Bar, though, it had a short initial life. The Banjo Bar made a name for itself before disappearing way back in 1954. For any comparison today, think Kit Kat with a little more bite. Crunchy wafer layers, chocolate filling, all wrapped in rich milk chocolate. It had a second act in the 1970s, but oddly, it wasn't the same bar at all, leading many to wonder, why change a classic? No answers surfaced, and this Choco reboot quietly faded, leaving fans loyal only to the original. Cadbury Milk Tray. Bar, imagine your favorite chocolates from a holiday selection box, all combined into one full-size bar. That was the magic of the Cadbury Milk Tray bar. With 14 different flavored centers, ranging from pineapple dessert, coconut ice, to lime cordial, it offered an entire experience in every row. Each bite was a gamble, each flavor a surprise. This wasn't just a bar, it was a party. Its exit in the late 70s hurt those who cherished chocolate unpredictability. Fry's Five Boys simple, solid milk chocolate. But what made Fry's Five Boys memorable wasn't just the taste, it was the packaging. The wrapper featured a boy's 5 emotional stages before eating his chocolate: desperation, pacification, expectation, acclamation, and realization. It was wildly creative and decades ahead of its time. Launched in 1902 and discontinued in 1976, it ran for over 70 years, enough time to earn its place as a true British chocolate icon. Fry's 5 centers, now this one was a colorful delight, literally. Fry's 5 centers offered a dark chocolate bar segmented by fruit-flavored fondant centers: orange, raspberry, lime, strawberry, and pineapple. Later, varieties experimented with coffee and vanilla. But the real charm? You never quite knew what flavor you were about to bite into. That playful unpredictability kept people coming back, until it quietly exited shelves in the late 1980s. But for many, the memory still lingers. Tiffin Bar Straight from Cadbury's playbook. The Tiffin Bar mixed raisins, crunchy biscuits, and dairy milk chocolate into a treat that felt like a homemade dessert turned into a commercial legend. Launched in 1937, it lasted until 1972. But every now and then, like an old friend visiting for the holidays, Tiffin surprises fans with limited edition releases. That glimmer of hope keeps hope alive for die-hard fans who miss its crunch and chew. Weekend chocolate box nothing said simple family joy like the Weekend chocolate box. Launched in the 1940s, this was more than just a bar. It was an experience. Each piece wrapped individually, featuring nuts, fruit, toffee, something for everyone. While Milk Tray screamed romance and luxury, the Weekend box was wholesome, unapologetically fun. But as palates changed and sleeker chocolates arrived, this family staple quietly faded out by 1988. Aztec Bar, created in 1967 to challenge the mighty Mars Bar, the Aztec had everything you'd expect: caramel, nougat, and milk chocolate wrapping it all up. It held its own for over a decade before sales dipped, getting axed in 1978. It returned briefly, but with heavy expectations and shifting market trends, it flopped again. It remains a delicious what-if in the world of British sweets. Golden Cup launched in the 1960s. The Golden Cup was an instant hit. Milk chocolate filled with thick, dark, oozing caramel that felt like a reward with every bite. Packaged in a glimmering golden foil, it looked as indulgent as it tasted. But when the caramel competition intensified in the 1980s, it got lost in the shuffle and was sadly discontinued. Still, fans remember its rich flavor as pure decadence. Treats before minstrels and before peanut M&Ms, there were treats. Mars made these candies with milk chocolate and a delicate sugar shell, and for many they were simply magic. Sweet, portable, and fun, they thrived in the 1960s. But by 1981, with competition hotter than ever, treats were quietly retired. Their slogan was reappropriated, their memory slowly faded, but their legacy paved the way for future favorites. Amazing raisin bars, just like the name, these Cadbury creations were all about raisins, but there was a chewy twist. Nougatine and caramel layered between milk and plain chocolate. It was a texture lover's dream, sweet, sticky, smooth, and soft. Born in 1971, they thrived for most of the decade before disappearing in 1978. They were a short-lived gem, distinct enough to remember but too unique for mass survival. Nutty Bar equal parts salty and sweet. The Nutty Bar from Roundtree blended fudge, peanuts, and caramel into a chewy, crunchy masterpiece. It was a balanced flavor bomb that resonated with snackers in the late 70s and early 80s. But as the brand reshuffled its lineup, this bar was cut, seemingly without fanfare, in the mid-1980s. Its exit left a noticeable gap for fans of complex, layered confections. Old Jamaica, born in the 1970s, Old Jamaica wasn't for everyone. It was a boldly adult chocolate. Dark and rich, infused with rum-flavored raisins, it brought a unique, boozy edge. It was sophisticated, smooth, and carried itself like a fine after-dinner treat. Though it enjoyed several re-releases, it's never quite managed to hold its ground permanently post-1990s, largely due to shifting tastes away from liquor-based chocolates. Caramac, not chocolate exactly, but undeniably worthy of its place here. Launched in 1959 by Macintosh, the Caramac bar offered buttery caramel flavor in a format that resembled a chocolate bar. Loved for its sweet simplicity and retro vibe, it was quietly discontinued in 2023, though it had run-ins with extinction before. A cult classic both loved and misunderstood, its absence is deeply felt. Bar 6, with its 6 crisp wafer fingers coated in milk chocolate and wrapped in foil. Bar 6 was a vending machine go-to throughout the 1970s and into the 80s. What made it pop was the flashy exterior and the perfect size for snacking, especially after a swim. Despite its popularity, Bar 6 slowly disappeared, sinking beneath waves of more aggressively marketed bars. Texan Bar. The Texan Bar was a chewy beast wrapped in chocolate. A 1970s hit, it was proudly difficult to eat, firm when chilled, extra gooey when warm. The quirks made it a hit with those who liked to snack with character. It vanished by the late 1980s, but had a short comeback in 2005. It wasn't enough to save it, but for a while, it roared like a cowboy in the British chocolate Wild West. Rumba Bar. Much like Old Jamaica, the Rumba Bar catered to a more refined sweet tooth. With rum-flavored chocolate, soft fondant, and chewy caramel, it struck a bold balance between indulgence and novelty. It was chewier than most, but smooth enough to enjoy slowly. Popular through the late 70s and early 80s, it eventually bowed out as public interest in boozy chocolates dried up. Prize Bar. The Prize Bar aimed to reinvent the wafer bar formula. Instead of sticks like Kit Kat, it was one solid chunk featuring a creamy layer tucked between chocolate-covered wafers. A bit of a hidden gem in the 1970s and early 80s, it managed to gather a loyal fan base without much noise. By the early 1990s, it was gone, quietly, without drama, remembered mostly by those who truly loved it. Cabana Bar. This 80s flash-in-the-pan mixed coconut caramel and cherries, tucked under a milk chocolate shell. It was rich, a little tropical, and definitely different. But despite its fan following, the Cabana couldn't withstand changing tastes and had a short lifespan. By the early 90s, it was already history. Still, for anyone who enjoyed that sweet and fruity fusion, it's a bar that left a lasting impression. Drifter Bar. Launched in the 80s, the Drifter was a Kit Kat-esque wafer bar, but denser, chewier, and layered with caramel before being covered in milk chocolate. Packed in twos, it was a lunchtime legend for years. It disappeared in 2007, then resurfaced briefly, only to vanish again in 2018 when consumer love didn't translate to consistent sales. Sadly, not every comeback sticks the landing. Spira Bar. Launched quietly in 1984 in a small section of England, the Spira Bar was unlike anything before. It used a revolutionary method that did away with molds, producing a hollow chocolate spiral unlike any other. 2 elegant coils of swirling milk chocolate per pack, meant to feel futuristic for a new generation. It eventually rolled out nationwide by 1989 and was aimed squarely at teens and young adults. Its innovative shape turned heads, but eventually, like so many novelties, interest waned. By 2005, the spiral stopped spinning. Pyramid, less a bar and more a shapeshifter, the pyramid was all angles and minty decadence. Originally launched in 1988, it delivered dark chocolate with a rich mint filling, boldly shaped like its namesake, making it as visually unique as it was flavorful. It had enough charm to get reshaped into bar form by 1991, but neither the form nor the formula could secure its place long-term. As mint options narrowed in retail, Pyramid fell, quietly and completely, disappearing without leaving many traces or fans to rally for its return. Lion Bar debuted in 1976, and remembered for its rough, rugged exterior, the Lion Bar was packed with flavor and texture. Wafers, caramel, crisped cereal, and rich chocolate, all crammed into one beast of a treat. It felt wild in a world of smooth bars. But while the name's still alive today, what made it special back then isn't. In 2004, it was completely reformulated and rebranded, turning nostalgic love into vague recognition. The original Lion, with its tough bite and grisly charm, is now just a tamed shadow of its bold past. Wispa Mint Wispa was a hit, but do you remember the Wispa Mint? Introduced in 1995, it added a cool layer of mint to the light, bubbly aerated chocolate fans already adored. It struck a memorable balance, sweet, airy, and refreshingly sharp. For mint lovers, it was perfection wrapped in Cadbury's glossy finish. Sadly, mint doesn't always last. By 2003, it was retired, outpaced by trendier flavors. Though other Wispas have returned triumphantly, the mint version remains lost, a whisper from the past barely heard anymore. Fuse Bar in 1996, Cadbury launched something wild, Fuse. A brilliant, chaotic mix of creamy chocolate stuffed with peanuts, raisins, crispy cereals, and chunks of fudge. It wasn't elegant, but it was exciting. Surprisingly, it became the fastest-selling new Cadbury bar since the original Wispa. People loved its everything-in-one style. But that success fizzled out over a decade. By 2006, it was gone from UK shelves. While it still exists in a few other countries, those looking for the crunchy, chaotic joy of the original British Fuse will be out of luck. Taz Bar Sweet, small and full of mischief. The Taz Bar featured everyone's favorite Looney Tune tornado, the Tasmanian Devil. At its core was a lump of gooey caramel hugged by Cadbury's milk chocolate. Kids in the early 90s begged for it, but by 1994, Taz went into retirement, not because of the chocolate, but the branding. Looney Tunes' cultural grip weakened, and Cadbury swapped Taz out for Freddo the Frog. The chocolate stayed mostly the same, but a bit of the original personality, loud, messy, lovable, was lost with Taz's exit. Flight Bar Milky Way fans from the pre-vanilla days might remember Flight. Created in 1993 by Mars, it was born out of necessity. Milky Way transformed from chocolate nougat to vanilla cream, and loyalists weren't pleased. Enter Flight, a whipped chocolate nougat bar dipped in smooth milk chocolate. Not overly indulgent, not too heavy, just right for a light snack. It flew under the radar for years, quietly pleasing purists. But with declining demand and shifting focus, it was discontinued in 2015, silently ending its mission. Galaxy Truffles Decadent, melty, rich. In the 90s, Galaxy Truffles became the crown jewel of indulgent chocolates. These creamy centers coated in that signature Galaxy milk chocolate were a celebration in every bite. They were dreamy, luxurious, borderline addictive. But somewhere in the early 2010s, they disappeared. The makers claimed dropping popularity. Fans, however, didn't believe it. They mourned. Petitions flew. But the truffles stayed gone, leaving behind only a silky memory of what luxury used to taste like. Echo Bar, at first glance, it didn't scream iconic, but once you tasted an Echo Bar, it stayed with you. Launched by Foxes in the early 1990s, Echo was elegant. The base was a solid chocolate biscuit, topped with aerated cream, and then sealed with a layer of milk or white chocolate. Texture, balance, sweetness, it had it all. It felt modern before premium biscuits were trendy. And then, almost as quietly as it arrived, Echo was gone. Petitions called for its return, but they never made enough noise. Another whisper in the wind. Astros debuting in 1997. Astros were the sweet underdog in the Smarties versus M&M rivalry. But these stood out. a crunchy biscuit center covered in milk chocolate, finished with a candy shell. They were vibrant, crisp, full of flavor and texture. Yet the UK's love affair with Astros didn't last. Discontinued shockingly fast, they live on mostly in South Africa, where fans continue the story. For UK sweet lovers, they're just another childhood treat lost way too soon. Vice versa, these little candies flipped expectations. Tiny spheres of chocolate, some with white chocolate in milk shells, others with milk chocolate in white shells. Creamy, colorful, and deliciously confusing. Launched in the early 90s, vice versa candies offered mini surprises with every bite. But novelty wears off unless demand grows. And unfortunately, it didn't. They vanished in 2003. Short-lived comebacks failed to re-establish their footing, and they now remain one of the more unique memories in British chocolate history. Time Out Bar. The genius in Time Out was its simplicity. Introduced in 1992, this wafer bar featured delicate layers of crispy wafer sandwiched with chocolate, all wrapped in Cadbury's dairy milk. Sold as 2 fingers, the idea was to take a break, and it worked. Snack lovers devoured them all through the 90s, but eventually the competition caught up. Chocolate bars got bolder, bigger, flashier. Time Out shifted in size and design before being discontinued entirely during the 2010s. Only its name lives on, ironically, reminding us to pause for treats that no longer exist. These bars didn't just satisfy sweet cravings, they captured moments. From school lunches to after-dinner indulgence, they became part of British culture, woven into memories of joy, comfort, and fun. While they may be gone from the shops, they're far from forgotten. Somewhere, in the back of a wardrobe or the drawer of an old pantry, someone's still holding on to a faded wrapper, wondering, will it ever make a comeback? And that's the delicious beauty of chocolate history. Some treats may disappear, but their stories stay forever sweet.